The smoke had not cleared yet. Black clouds covered the sky, and the air smelled like burning metal. The ground was broken full of ash, blood, and fire. Bodies lay still across the battlefield, some human, some alien. All quiet now. In the middle of that silence, a small sound came, a slow breath. She was still alive. A young alien girl, no more than 16, lay crushed under a broken wall. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes large and full of pain. One of her legs was missing. Blood had dried on her torn clothes. She didn't scream anymore. She had no energy left. Her name was Ayla, but no one called her that now. She was just a broken girl lying on a forgotten battlefield. Her people had run. The human soldiers had moved on. And now she waited for death. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the sky. Her voice was thin, almost gone. I don't want to be afraid anymore." A weak beep echoed from a distance. Then, another. A small medical drone floated near her body. It scanned, paused, and turned away. Not worth saving. Ayla closed her eyes. But then, boots. Footsteps. Strong, heavy, coming closer. A shadow stood over her. The sun peeked through smoke, just enough to show the shape of a human. A man in a medic's armor, tall, strong, with a scar across his cheek and a scanner in his hand. His name was Reese. He knelt beside her without a word. His eyes met hers, and for a moment, both of them froze. She looked like a ghost, barely breathing. But something in her eyes stopped him. "Medic Reese." His cum buzzed. "Sector's clear. No survivors. Return to base." Reese stared at the cum device, then looked back at her. "No survivors?" He muttered. "That's not true." He dropped his med bag to the ground. Ayla blinked. "Why? Are you here?" she asked in a shaking voice. "I'm not human." "I know," Reese replied softly, "but you're still alive." He gently touched her neck. Pulse, weak but steady. He opened his bag and pulled out tools. He started working fast, cleaned her wounds, closed her leg with a military-grade nano-bandage, gave her oxygen, applied pressure to the bleeding side. "You're wasting supplies," Ayla whispered. Reese looked at her again. "No, I'm not." She turned her head away. "Your people killed mine." "And your people killed mine," he answered. "But you're not holding a weapon. You're holding on to life. That's enough for me." For a few minutes nothing was said. Only the wind and the distant crackle of fire. Then Reese lifted her gently in his arms. Her body was light, too light. She had lost too much blood. Her head fell against his shoulder. "Why?" she asked again. Reese didn't reply this time. He just kept walking toward his ship, steps slow and careful. When he reached the entrance, the security system beeped. "Unauthorized lifeform DE," said. He sighed. "Override. Medical emergency. Code 7R." The doors opened. Inside, the ship was small, just a scout vessel, but it had a med room in the back. Reese placed her on the medical bed, connected 4 lines, and activated the healing system. Ayla's eyes fluttered open for a second. "Don't let them find me." "They won't," Reese said. "You're safe here, even if I'm the enemy." "You're not the enemy," Reese whispered. "You're just a girl who shouldn't die today." She closed her eyes. For the first time in hours, she felt warm. Safe. Not forgotten. In the silent battlefield where hope had died, one human medic made a different choice, and that choice would change both their lives forever. Asterisk. The room was quiet, too quiet. Ayla opened her eyes slowly. Soft lights above her blinked. The walls were white. The bed under her was warm. For a second, she forgot where she was. Then she remembered. The pain hit her again like a wave. Her leg gone. She looked down and saw only bandages, machines, and metal rods where her left leg used to be. Her chest tightened. Her hands shook. She wasn't dreaming. She was alive, but she didn't want to be. The human medic sat in the corner, watching quietly. His name Reese. He hadn't spoken much since. Bringing her in. He just worked changing her dressings, scanning her vitals, keeping her alive. She wished he wouldn't. "Why didn't you leave me?" she asked, voice flat. Reese didn't look surprised. He stood, walked over, and adjusted her oxygen line. "Because I don't leave people behind. I'm not people to you. I'm just an alien." Her voice was bitter. "One of the enemy. You were a patient bleeding to death. That's all I saw." Ayla turned her face away. "I wanted to die." Reese stayed silent. "You should have let me," she added. Softer now. "There's nothing left for me out there. No home. No leg, no family, no future." He crouched beside her bed. "You're wrong. You're alive. That means there's still something left." Her eyes narrowed. "Don't say that. You don't know what it feels like. I'm half a person now." Reese looked at her calmly. "Then I'll help you feel whole again." She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "You think some machines and fake limbs can fix me?" "No," he replied, without blinking. "But kindness can." Ayla looked at him for a long moment. Her eyes were tired. She didn't trust him, but she didn't hate him either, not anymore. She whispered, "You're strange for a soldier. I'm not just a soldier, I'm a medic. I patch up broken things." "I'm more than broken," she said. He smiled sadly. "Then you're more than most." The next few days were hard. She refused to eat at first. She ignored the food tray. But Reese left it anyway, every time hot soup, protein packs, small fruits. Slowly hunger won. She started eating in silence, without looking at him. Then came the nightmares. She cried in her sleep. Flashes of war. Screams, explosions. Her sister's voice calling her name, and then silence. Reese sat by her side during the worst of them, holding her hand so she wouldn't feel alone. One night, she woke up sweating. Tears ran down her cheeks. She didn't know she had spoken out loud until Reese answered her. "I'm here," he said. She looked at him, heart racing. "Why do you care?" "Because someone should," he said simply. On the 5th day, he brought something strange into the room, a metal frame, wires, and tools. "What's that?" she asked, frowning. "A leg," he said. She froze. "You're building me a leg?" "A prototype," he nodded. "Military tech. Not legal to use on non-humans. But you're already not supposed to be here, right?" She stared at the pieces. "It won't work on me. Our biology is different. I've studied your species structure. I read everything I could from the Allied database," he explained. "It'll fit, I promise." Ayla swallowed hard. "You don't even know my name." He stopped. "That's true." She looked at the ceiling. For a moment, she said nothing. Then, in a quiet voice, "Ayla." Reese smiled. "Thank you, Ayla." She blinked quickly. Her throat felt tight that no one had said her name in weeks. Later that day, Reese sat at a workbench near her bed, putting the metal leg together piece by piece. Sparks flew as he welded, and his hands moved like he had done this 100 times. Before, Ayla watched him. Quietly. He didn't treat her like a monster or like a burden. He treated her like someone who mattered. And for the first time since the war began, she wondered if maybe she did. The hum of the ship was the only sound. Outside, the stars floated in silence. Inside, Reese's ship drifted between patrol routes, avoiding detection. It wasn't just a medical craft anymore. It had become a hiding place. A secret between a human and an alien girl the world wanted to forget. Ayla sat upright now. She still couldn't walk, but her new metal leg, half-finished, rested beside her. Reese had fitted the base of it on her thigh, carefully attaching connectors that responded to nerve signals. It was not perfect, but it was hers. Still, she didn't speak much. She just watched Reese solder, measure, test again and again. He worked with focus, but not coldness. Every time her eyes flinched in pain, he paused. adjusted the angle, smoothed the edges, asked softly, "Too tight?" Sometimes she answered. Sometimes she didn't. But slowly, a strange comfort grew in the small recovery room. Until the knock came. Not from the door, but the come. System. Tap. Tap. Reese's body stiffened. His hands froze mid-repair. "Who's there?" he asked through the mic. "Private Lorne," came the reply. "Sir, are you all right?" "You missed the patrol check-in." Reese stood up fast. "Yes, minor equipment error. I'll report soon." "Can I come in? I'm nearby. Wanted to drop off rations." "No." Reese snapped, then softened his tone. "I mean, not necessary. System still recharging. Ship sealed." A pause. Then, "Understood, sir." The voice faded, but Reese didn't move for several seconds. He just stood, staring at the door like it might open any second. Ayla watched him closely. "They can't find me, can they?" Reese turned slowly. His face was serious now. "No. They can't. And they won't. But they're your people. So are you now." She looked at the floor, not knowing what to say later that night. Reese activated a portable shield around the medroom. It made the room invisible to scanners. Illegal tech stolen from a past mission. But it worked. As the lights dimmed. Ayla stared at her reflection in the wall panel. Her eyes had lost that lifeless gray. A bit of color had returned to her cheeks. Her arm was thin but healing. Her voice was soft but stronger. "You're giving me things your army would punish you for," she said. Reese leaned back in his chair. "They'd call it betrayal. I call it mercy." She studied him. "Why risk your career for someone you don't even know?" Reese didn't answer at first. Then he said quietly, "Because someone once did the same for me." Ayla blinked. "What do you mean?" He looked at the ceiling. "Years ago, I got shot on a failed mission. My team left me behind, thinking I was dead. But a local villager alien found me, carried me 2 miles to a safe zone, saved me." "What happened to her?" "She was executed for helping a human," he said, his voice low. Ayla's chest tightened. "And now you're doing the same." He nodded. "Maybe it's my way of saying thank you." She looked down at her new leg. "Will it work?" "I don't know," Reese replied honestly. "It might take time. But if you're willing to try, I'll be here." Ayla's fingers brushed the edge of the prosthetic. "I want to walk again," she whispered. "But not to run away." He looked at her curious. "Then why?" "To stand." Days passed. Reese trained her to use the leg in small steps. First, just sitting up, then standing with support. Then 2 steps, 3 steps, each one painful. Each one harder than the last. She fell many times, but she kept getting up. Sometimes with tears. Sometimes with clenched fists. One evening, as she leaned on the wall and managed 5 steps without falling, Reese clapped his hands. "That's it. You're doing it." Ayla was sweating. Her chest heaved, but her eyes shined for the first time. "I thought I'd never feel the floor under me again," she said, smiling faintly. Reese smiled too. "Soon you'll run," she laughed. "Let's not dream too fast." But not everything was safe. Reese had received a message that morning encrypted. "Urgent. Command suspects you're hiding a bio-risk. Prepare for a surprise inspection." He didn't tell Ayla. He just stared out the window as his ship floated in silence and said to himself, "I need a plan." Because if they boarded his ship and found her here, everything would be over. Not just for her, but for him too. Asterisk the stars. Outside the window didn't blink. But inside the ship, Reese's heart was beating faster than ever. He stared at the blinking red message on his screen. "Inspection inbound. ETA. 2 hours they were coming. A full patrol team. Not a friendly visit. Not a casual check." They had doubts. And those doubts could get both of them killed. He turned off the screen and looked at Ayla, who was asleep in the medroom. Her metal leg was now fully attached. Her face was calm. No more nightmares, no more sobbing. She looked free. And now that freedom was in danger, Reese stood there for a long moment, just watching her breathe. Then he walked away and locked the med room with a biometric seal. Only his DNA could open it now. 2 hours passed fast. The inspection team arrived in a large black cruiser. It docked with Reese's ship like a giant claw grabbing a smaller bird. The hatch hissed open. 4 officers entered, guns holstered but eyes sharp. "Medic Reese," the lead officer said. "This is a surprise inspection. Step aside." Reese nodded, trying to act normal. "Ship's all yours, Commander." They began scanning the ship. Every wall, every crate, every vent. The scanners buzzed louder as they neared the back. Reese felt sweat forming on his neck. "Please." "Not the med dash room." One soldier stopped. He looked at the sealed door. "What's behind this?" he asked. "Private medical bay," Reese replied calmly. "My own recovery space." "Been dealing with nerve damage in my arm." The soldier raised an eyebrow. "It's locked." "Private access, bio-coded. Regulation 17 permits it." The lead officer frowned. "Unlock it." Reese's voice stayed calm. "I can't. The shield is active. Disabling it could fry the life support system. Sensitive equipment inside." That was partly true, but not the whole truth. They stared at him for a long second, then moved on. The scan continued. But something changed in their eyes. They didn't believe him. Later, when the patrol team finally left, the hatch sealed behind them with a sharp hiss. Reese didn't move, not until their cruiser fully disconnected. Then he ran. He rushed to the med room, placed his hand on the scanner, and the door opened. Ayla looked up, confused. "What's wrong?" "They were here," he said breathlessly. "They searched the whole ship." Her face went pale. "Did they?" "No," he said. "But next time they will." She sat up slowly. "So what happens now?" Reese stared at her with a look she had never seen before. "Fear. I can't keep you here anymore," he said. Her heart dropped. "You're sending me away?" "I'm trying to keep you alive," he said. "They're watching me now. They'll come again with orders." Ayla looked down. Her fingers gripped the side of the bed. "You promised." "I didn't break that promise," Reese said quickly. "You're walking, you're healing. You're not dying in the dirt. I kept that part." "But what now?" she asked. "Where can I go?" Reese took a deep breath. "There's a refugee moon," he said. "Orbiting a dead planet. Neutral zone, no military rules. I know someone there. They help people like you." She looked at him, pain in her eyes. "And you?" "I'll go back to base. Act normal. Pretend none of this happened." She bit her lip. "Will we meet again?" He looked away. "I don't know." The escape plan began that night. Reese waited until all nearby patrols had passed. Then he moved her into a transport pod, small, fast, and shielded. She climbed in slowly, her new leg clicking softly with each step. Reese handed her a food pack and a small device. "Navigation is preset," he said. "You don't need to do anything. Just stay quiet, stay alive." Ayla looked at the pod, then back at him. "Why does this feel like goodbye?" He didn't answer. She sat down inside the pod. The door began to close, but before it shut completely, she reached out and grabbed his hand. "You changed my life, Reese." He looked at her, eyes tired. "You changed mine too." The pod sealed with a quiet hiss, and a moment later launched into space like a whisper. Gone. Safe. Maybe. Reese stood in the dark, alone. And for the first time in years, he felt empty. But not in a bad way. He had saved someone, and maybe, just maybe, that was enough. The stars weren't calm tonight. A storm was rising in the galaxy. Not weather, but war machines. Ayla's small pod flew silently through the edge of Sector 17, heading toward the neutral moon. It was supposed to be a safe route. It wasn't. Inside, The pod, she sat quietly, staring at the stars. Her new metal leg was warm, connected to her nerves like it had always been part of her body. Reese had done more than save her. He had made her stronger. But she still felt. Heavy. He was gone. Behind her. Alone. Facing the consequences. Her fingers tightened on the edge of the seat. Suddenly dash an alarm. Beeped. Red lights flashed inside the pod. Incoming drone. Military ID. Hostile. She looked at the screen. A patrol ship, smaller than a cruiser, but fast. It was chasing her. Her heart pounded. Why would they come after me? She whispered. Then she remembered. She wasn't just a refugee now. She was evidence. Evidence that Reese had broken. Military law. They weren't just hunting her. They were trying to erase the proof. Meanwhile, Reese sat inside his ship, pretending to sleep, but his eyes were wide open. He knew they had followed. The pod. He tapped into the back channel. Hidden frequencies. Not meant to be used anymore. The drone's signature appeared on his screen. Damn it, he whispered. They're going to shoot her down. He stood up fast. There was only one thing he could do now. He had to break the rules completely. He fired up his engines. Not to run, but to fight. In space, the drone caught up to Ayla's pod. It opened fire. The pod shook violently. Sparks flew. A warning flashed. Primary engine damaged. Stabilizers failing. Ayla cried out, holding on as the pod spun out of control. Her body slammed into the side. She hit her head. Blood ran down her cheek. Please, she whispered. I don't want to die like this. A flash of light passed the window. She looked up. A missile streaked past the pod and hit the drone. It exploded in fire and smoke. Her pod kept spinning, but she was still alive. Her screen flickered, and a voice came through the static. Ayla. It's me. Her eyes widened. Reese, I'm coming. Stay awake. Stay with me. Reese's ship pulled up beside the broken pod. He sent out a magnetic link to grab it and bring it in. The docking took seconds, but felt like years. When the pod sealed inside, he ran straight to the door and opened it. Ayla collapsed into his arms. You came back, she whispered. I never left, he said, holding her tightly. She looked at him confused. But the neutral moon? They would have never made it in time. I had to help. He carried her to the medbed again. Her second time in his arms. But this time, she didn't feel like a dying girl. This time, she felt like someone worth saving. But they weren't safe yet. More alerts came in. Multiple patrols inbound. Engagement probable in 10 minutes. Reese looked at Ayla. We're going through fire now. I'm ready, she said. He gave her a look, half proud, half terrified. Reese sat at the control deck, eyes locked on the dark space ahead. Then he pressed every power button he had. His ship roared. They flew into the asteroid belt faster than they ever had before. The patrol ships chased them, firing bursts of plasma. Ayla gripped the chair, her leg glowing faintly. One blast hit their wing, fire exploded, metal bent. Reese yelled, "Hold on!" He spun the ship between two large rocks, dodging lasers by inches. His hand moved like a pilot who had nothing left to lose. Are we going to make it? She asked. Reese grinned, breathless. We're humans. We don't die easy. 10 minutes later, the patrols gave up. Reese's ship disappeared into deep space. Silent again. Only the soft sound of a girl breathing and a medic exhaling relief. Ayla looked at him. I didn't walk today, she said. You didn't have to, he smiled. You stood for yourself. That's even harder. She laughed, even with the blood still on her face. For the first time, she felt something she hadn't felt since the war began. Freedom. The stars were calm now. After days of running, hiding, and bleeding, the ship finally touched down on a small moon, cold, quiet, and forgotten by most maps. There were no flags here. No soldiers. No war. Just people who wanted peace. Reese walked down the ramp, holding Ayla's arm gently. She walked beside him, not carried, her new leg clicking softly against the metal floor. Each step still hurt. But she didn't stop. She was done with being weak. Ahead of them stood a small outpost made of metal and stone. Simple buildings, faded lights. Aliens and humans walking together, children, old men, ex-soldiers, mothers. No one looked rich, but they all looked free. A tall woman with silver skin and a deep scar across her face approached. She wore a white scarf and had soft eyes. "You brought her?" the woman asked Reese. He nodded. "Her name is Ayla." The woman looked at Ayla for a long moment, then smiled. "Welcome home." Ayla didn't reply. She wasn't used to soft voices. But for the first time, she believed them. The room they gave her was small, with one bed, a chair, and a window that showed the stars. Reese helped her sit. She looked around in silence. "You'll be safe here," he said. She nodded. "And you?" He looked at her, unsure. "I'll stay a few days, help you settle. Then, I'll go back." Ayla's heart sank. "Back to the war?" Reese sighed. "Back to what's left of my duty." She turned away. "I wish you could stay." He didn't answer. She whispered, "I'm scared I'll forget how to walk without you." "You won't," he said gently. "You already know how." The next morning, she met the others. There was a girl with 6 fingers who painted flowers on broken metal. A boy who had no voice but laughed louder than anyone. A human man missing both arms, teaching kids how to grow food. Everyone was broken in some way. And yet, no one acted like it. Ayla sat on a bench and watched them. "Why are they so happy?" she asked. A woman beside her replied, "Because they survived." That word stayed with her all day. Survived, not escaped. Not hidden. Survived. That night, Reese sat outside her door, looking at the stars. Ayla walked out quietly, using a cane. "You should rest," he said. "I've rested enough," she replied. They sat in silence for a while. Then she asked, "Do you ever wish it was someone else?" "Someone stronger than you, who saved me." Reese shook his head. "Never. Why?" "Because I don't think anyone else would have stayed." Ayla looked at him. His eyes were tired but honest, and something inside her changed again. She didn't feel like a broken soldier anymore. She felt like a girl who still had a future. Later, the woman with the white scarf returned. She gave Reese a small data chip. "What's this?" he asked. "A new identity. For her, no more tracking, no more labels. She's one of us now." Reese looked at the chip, then at Ayla. "You sure about this?" he asked. Ayla took the chip in her hand. It was light, but it felt like the weight of a whole new life. She nodded. "I want to live. Really live." And in that moment, Reese knew. She didn't just survive. She was beginning again. But peace never lasts forever. That night, Reese got a message on his old comlink. "We know what you did. There will be consequences." He didn't show it to Ayla. He just turned off the screen and looked at her one last time while she slept peacefully. Whatever happened next, he had no regrets. She was safe, and that was enough. The wind on the moon was soft. It carried dust but also peace. Ayla stood in the courtyard of the outpost, her cane resting against the bench behind her. She was not using it today. Today, she wanted to walk alone. The metal leg hummed quietly, reading. Her steps, her movements were slow, careful, but steady. Every time her foot touched the ground, it felt more real, more hers. Children watched from the edge of the courtyard. Some clapped. Some gasped. The girl with the painted flowers ran up with a small flag and cheered. "She's walking again." Ayla smiled, holding back tears. She didn't think this day would come. Not after the battlefield. Not after the pain. Not after the pod chase or the drone fire. But here she was, walking, standing, living. Reese watched from a distance. He stood in the shadows, arms crossed, his usual calm on his face. But his eyes, they were soft, proud. He had seen many patients in his life. Some healed, some didn't. But Ayla, she was different. She didn't just survive, she transformed. And now it was time. He turned to leave quietly, without saying goodbye, but before he could take a step, her voice called out, "Don't leave." He froze. She was walking toward him, no cane, no help. Her balance was shaky but firm. Her face serious. "You are going to go without saying anything?" she asked. He looked at her, a little surprised. "I didn't want to make it harder." She stopped in front of him. "Then don't go," Reese sighed. "Ayla, I'm a soldier. I've broken laws. They'll come for me eventually." "Then stay until they do," she said. He looked at her carefully. "Why?" "Because I walk better when you're around." Reese smiled. "You don't need me anymore." She shook her head. "That's not true. I may not need your hands to help me walk now, but I still need your heart." His smile faded into something deeper. He nodded slowly. "Then I'll stay. For now." Weeks passed. Reese worked as a field medic in the outpost, fixing broken arms, treating fevers, calming scared children. He looked out of place in this quiet life. But somehow he fit. Ayla trained every morning, longer walks, small runs. Learning to jump, climb, fall, get up. She became a symbol for the outpost kids, the girl who stood again. One day, a reporter from a neutral media colony came and asked her for an interview. "Tell us your story," they said. She thought for a moment, then answered, "I was left behind broken. But one human, just one, chose to stop and help. That's all it took to change my life." The clip went viral across free networks. It even reached a few soldiers across the stars. But in the end, it wasn't about the fame. It was about the message. You don't need to save the galaxy. Just save one person, and that's enough to change everything. That night, she and Reese sat on the roof of the outpost. The stars were clearer here. No smoke, no fire, no warships. Just space and quiet dreams. Ayla leaned her head on his shoulder. "Do you ever wish you'd made a different choice?" Reese looked at her, then up at the sky. "I did make a different choice. And I've never been more proud of anything in my life." She closed her eyes. "I hope others make the same choice." "They will," he said. "Because now they've seen what it looks like." Far above them, patrol ships passed by in the distance. But they didn't come closer. Not yet. For now. They were safe. For now. The girl who once wanted to die was alive, walking, and loved. And the man who once followed orders was now following his heart. Together, they stood, not as soldier and alien, but as two survivors who chose hope over fear, and kindness over silence.